Today it's pumpkin waffle. And it doesn't look very fancy, but we have some pomegranate arrows to eat with it, and I have hot lemon and honey. But we're just going to go for honey on our waffle today, which seems pretty low rent after all this waffle summer.
No.
But anyway, it's pretty easy to make this waffle, but you have to worry about it sticking to the grill. So what you do is you make the latte in the way that I made it yesterday, which is not the way that I make the pumpkin latte normally. But if you want a waffle out of it, that's how you do it.
So it doesn't stick, is what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
So you have the strainings from the latte, the thicker bits, and that's what you're going to use to make your batter for your waffle. So you take that and you add some flour and some baking soda and some xanthan powder to it, or eggs. If you eat eggs, then put eggs. But when there's a pandemic going around, you probably don't want to be going out and you're like, oh gosh, I'm out of eggs again. Well, unless your city has a bylaw where they allow you to keep chickens, you probably don't want to be going out to get eggs. So get a bag of xanthan gum powder. It goes a long way. And then you're eating vegan waffles, whatever. But it doesn't matter if you don't think eating xanthan gum powder is that healthy or whatever compared to eggs, or that's your thing. But you know what? Going out and risking catching the pandemic over some eggs seems a little ridiculous. So anyway, that's just where I'm standing on it. So xanthan gum powder, way to go.
Although eggs are more important than, let's say, tourism, especially international tourism. But it's got to keep those rich people happy, because they've got their freedoms. You don't have that freedom to go to Hawaii for 18 years in a row.
No. I've never been. I've always wanted to go.
Never been either. Never even been close. And yeah, I've always wanted to go. But last time I was out of country, it was just across the border into Glacier, Waterton. So
I bet that was nice. I've always wanted to go there.
Nice. It's nice there, and I had good company. It was someone that I worked with, very nice fellow, a former Mennonite, but still a Christian, hard worker, and a soft-spoken kind of guy. Intelligent and educated. I think he had something like 2 degrees and a college diploma, something like that. It was nice to see something. He actually had a management degree or something like that, and he actually knew how to manage himself as a worker. He didn't have these huge, big ambitions to go manage other people and, like become something like a slave driver or something like that. He actually set an example. He made I think, a pretty good management person. Probably very good, because he would have set an example. That's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. If I were coaching a team, and like a soccer team or something like that, I would, and I had to pick my captain. I'd actually get the players to pick their captain by a secret ballot. But if I had to pick my captain, I just picked the fittest player on the team. The one generally, like I was always the fittest player on the team, and it was well understood. I was by far the most intelligent person on any team. This is soccer after all. Any sport really would be that way, but I was by far the fittest player on any team I was on. And It was just, I understood how, I mean, it's a crude function, cardiovascular and stuff like that. Conditioning is about the crudest it can get, but it's just so valuable. It's a little bit like memory is for so-called intelligent or intellectuals. You know, it's a crude function, but you can't do anything without it. It's a necessary but not a sufficient condition. And people are going around and acting as though it's not necessary. You know, the fact is that they figure, you know, like it kind of messes around with my creativity. I don't want to mess around with that, so I'm not going to memorize anything. And they've got no creativity. They don't have the means.
They've been spending too much time imagining.
Imagine, that's one of the favorite little tropes. Hey, you guys do tropes too, you idiots. What makes it really bad is you don't realize when you're troping it. But yeah, imagine if you had a world where we aggressive propagandists rule things. We don't have to imagine it. You idiots helped, you're useful idiots, you helped put the commies in power in Russia and other places. So we don't have to imagine it. We can see what happened. We know what happened. And of course, you'd be going along saying, it's just a trope. You know, like, here's one person that I met in this millennium. Young pup at university. I like the guy. He used to be a right-winger who, like, had seen the attraction of the militia types. And then he'd gone all the way over to something like the other side of the spectrum. That's what he figured. But he just he went from one right-wing final solution to another right-wing final solution. He became a commie. And what he was saying very earnestly to me, there's no irony or anything like that. Stalin never killed a soul. You know, like, how do you handle that? How do I make a cowardly amends for what he has said to me? For what he has said to me? You know? Wow. And that's this century. Stalin never killed anyone. It's all a trope. It's all just made up.
20th century?
21st century.
What?
It was this century, 21st century. Did I say 20th?
Oh, that you talked to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like, I would say within the last 5 years. Easily the last 5 years. Probably 4 years ago, something like that. Wow. So, this would have been 2 generations after Stalin died. And he didn't die of embarrassment. He was kind of
And this is not a waffle the pups can eat, by the way.
Okay.
Because it has nutmeg in it.
Thanks for mentioning. I wouldn't, I generally don't feed them the waffles. I let you handle that. If there's some amount of waffle that I don't get around to eating, then maybe we'll give it to them. Every so occasion I give them a nibble, so thanks. I think this is going to well disappear before.
Yeah, it's a tasty waffle.
It's good.
But this one, it's tough to keep it from sticking to the iron.
The grill, whatever, is that what you're saying?
Yep, the waffle iron.
Waffle iron, that's the best way to put it. It's like a grill. Now I can put this, you won't be offended if I put this.
No, that's your berries. You can do whatever you want, or arrows. But
Just getting this.
yeah, I'm shedding like crazy.
That's your hair. Oh, it is.
Sure
Yeah.
it is.
It's not
10
Opie
feet
hair.
long.
There we go. Opie has very short hair. It's very flyaway. Gets all over the place. It just seems to float up into the air.
I'm having a hard time keeping my hair out of the food. As the stress is getting to me. think that's it.
Yeah, and it's not even, it's just the beginning of winter. But it's been, this neighborhood is just gruesome. The insanity that goes on here.
It's not really the neighborhood that's good to me. Anyway.
Well, there's lots of things that are getting into COVID's getting crazy.
But yeah, I didn't put the pomegranates on the waffles. I left that up to you because I'm not gonna, like, I didn't put it on my waffles. Because I like pomegranate arrows now. I didn't used to as a child. As a child, I would suck off the stuff off the seeds and spit the seeds out. So after about maybe 10 arrows, I'd had enough. But, excuse me, what I like to do with pomegranate is use it as a salad topping in place of croutons. So whatever salad I would use croutons on, I use pomegranate arrows instead.
It works well on salads.
Yeah.
Because there's the color thing.
And it tastes nice in a dressing where, like, or if you just sprinkle a little bit of fresh thyme on your salad, it tastes good with thyme. And parsley. So it makes a great salad for this time of year.
So it adds a slightly different texture to the salad. Well, not slightly. Usually. And even though they're not the sweetest thing going, they add a little bit of sweetness. So if you're having a slightly bitter salad, most salads are bitter.
Sure. You get to know that when you juice things.
Oh, yeah.
When you juice lettuce, you're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever.
Lettuce is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It might be worse than kale.
Yep. When
it's juiced. It's absolutely gruesome, but it's probably pretty healthy. Not as healthy as kale. Kale juice would be so powerful. I think the cancer inside someone would start fleeing just at the whiff of it. Because it really, when you juice something, it's really concentrated.
But yeah, I wouldn't, today we had honey on our waffles, but that's because we're out of other fruit.
I even managed to keep the label on away from the thing. Isn't that nice? I don't know if they'd
care.
Get annoyed if it were upside down. I'm not a big name player, so.
Normally, I wouldn't want to put honey with the waffle. That's just there's nothing else.
We've done it rarely this year.
It's not really good for it. But like mangoes would have been excellent with this pumpkin waffle, and apricots would have been excellent. What else might have been excellent? Pineapple might have been excellent. I think pineapple would have been excellent.
I'm kind of enjoying these.
Okay.
Yeah, you're eating them separately. That's very nice. So this one works too. Now, I don't know what it would have been like without the honey. I think it still would have been pretty good.
Oh, there's one more waffle on the yard.
Awesome, looking forward. If I'd known, I think I would save some of these.
Oh, there's more.
Seeds.
I have more.
I'm liking this formula.
So, what do you have to talk about?
Too much, as usual. I want to talk about what's the big idea with Nala Ayed. Of course, her misnomer is ideas. What's the big idea, Nala Ayed? So not last night, but the night before. They had someone on, as they do ever so occasionally, who I respect. A guy called Salman Rushdie. We've been talking about him.
You respect Salman Rushdie?
Immensely.
I mean, all he did was write a fiction book.
He's written some criticism.
Well, he's written more than one fiction book. I should point out, I'll be reviewing it, one of them.
Yeah. Fury, Midnight's Children, Satanic Verses. There's a good number of them.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily respect him highly as a writer.
Okay. I don't like his books.
There we go. Can't say it's bad translation. It's writing in English. You can't say it's because he doesn't know English, because if you're listening to him on the radio, he speaks the Queen's English.
Honestly, the fact
better than
that
the Queen.
as I shouldn't say this, but perhaps the best thing that ever happened to him was having a price put on his head. Because honestly, I don't see why he'd be famous otherwise.
I think he'd already made a bit of his name for himself before
Had
that.
he?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's why they went after him. If he'd just been some
Working
nobody.
through his... Anyway.
Anyway. One of his works of criticism I've worked my way through. It's pretty good. I think it started out, or it had in it, an appreciation of, kind of retrospective appreciation of The Wizard of Oz, you know? Like, apparently he liked it as a kid. I think he's not that much older than me. And I can remember really liking it, even though I never saw the movie. I don't think I've ever seen the movie. I think I got a little story book or something like that with pictures in it.
Oh, well, we're going to have to get the movie out for you then.
Yeah.
I can't believe that you hadn't seen it, because you said your mom liked Judy Garland.
She did.
Yeah. But she didn't show you that movie.
First movie I ever saw, I was about 5 years old. It was Pinocchio. It was scary.
Yeah, it was scary. It's a scary story for kids.
I still liked it.
Yeah.
I
mean, you have basically, well, I guess a bit of a runaway child, but you have a kind of abduction going on, and it's kept in a cage, and that's terrible.
Anyway, I think when we were in Regina, when I was from 5 till 8, maybe we saw 3 movies. I can only recall that one, and I can recall it vividly in the sense I was scared of it, or whatever, although I enjoyed it. We were poor. And then when we hit Calgary, when I was 10, from 10 to 13, we hardly saw any movies. I think we saw The Trouble with Angels with Aidy Mills, Mary Poppins.
Well, that's a great one. You must have loved that.
I like that one pretty good. still young enough for it. And I like feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence. And increasingly, I've come to like, let's go fly a kite.
Yeah.
Because I think there is that pun on, go fly a kite.
Yeah.
You know, like, get lost, or whatever. And yeah, feed the birds, tuppence a bag. Which is kind of like, you know, they got right things about, at least from the dad side, thing about money, you know, like, give the birds a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost much.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a little bit of socialism. I can't say it's terribly
Well, it's not-
pro-feminist. But
It's not totally socialism because I mean you have this woman she's older and possibly a street woman or whatever who's selling birdseed, right?
Yeah.
But she's providing something. She doesn't just have her hand out. She's asking for, payment for the birdseed, right? So you're helping the birds out and you're helping her out. And
well, socialism, strictly speaking, is not welfare. It's like workers. We're workers getting paid properly. And what it really should be about is workers deciding how the business they work with. It should be with, not for. How it should be run.
mm-hmm.
How it should be decided democratically. You got that, you fake socialist?
Yeah.
'Cause every time you guys get into the driver's seat, you're driving people with whips. Every time. What about Europe? Europe's a mixed economy, you idiot. Like Sweden, it has its big corporations. It's got Bofors, it's got IKEA. What about Germany? It's still got ThyssenKrupp. They're not doing armaments anymore. They do elevators and like Lord knows what else. There's still Siemens, or Siemens is probably the better way to pronounce it. So newsflash, the world's first welfare state, at least of any import, was put together by Bismarck. I mean, Germany. Bismarck was a Junker. He was an aristocrat. And he was working for an emperor. Little newsflash. You can have a welfare state without having anything like social democracy. There's been too much emphasis.
And that's the thing is here in Canada there's no party representing the worker anymore. When you see things like that drug consumption center opened up here.
Wow.
And
NDP was pretty good in
yeah.
Alberta, but that was a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, really, NDP finally gets some power, and that's what they do? That's how you want to sell it, to try to get yourself back into power again? What were you thinking?
We're still living with the legacy of it here in the...
And I mean, it's just blatant corruption.
Excuse me, I don't know what it is. It seems like it just spooked the food right out of me.
Yeah.
You're going around representing NDP, the lumpen proletariat, as Marx called them,
Mhm.
the rag people.
You steal from the worker to give to the rag people and yourself, the aggressive propagandists with very deep pockets.
Yep. So, what you are, NDPs become. They'll take from the labor movement. I'm not necessarily saying Rachel Notley is one lady, but she's one of the better examples. But it's basically run by academics. Stupid academics.
And I mean, really, all they were doing was working for, well, themselves.
Oh, I know what you're
corruption.
saying about the corruption within the center. You went to the center more than once, right?
Yeah, I picked up condoms.
Okay.
Get free
So they're
condoms
serving a
there.
valuable function there.
Because at the
There's some
time,
condoms.
James and I were having sex, and we're not allowed to have sex without a condom because of his cancer medication that he has. So anyway.
So
no,
how
I
many
was
people did you
talking-
see in the confines of that place?
Yeah, there were a lot of people there that seemed like they had
Just kind
nothing
of
to do. They were
swanning
just-
around.
yeah. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, because I mean, they would have been making a pittance anyway, presumably. Well,
The Miss Manager there.
yeah, she
I'm
was
not calling her
making a
Miss
lot.
Manager.
That's
Ms.
what I'm
Manager.
talking about. I'm talking about that corruption.
Yeah. I'm afraid it would have spread down. There might have been some volunteers working there. I don't know, but I suspect it spread down from there. Okay? But the story goes that it was like something like $225,000 she granted herself in 1 year. And they finally pulled the plug on her. Now, I understand it's hypocrisy when you got Jason Kenney.
But it's also,
And the
I mean,
party
when
of
you're running
legalized
something
corruption.
like that, when you're saying, oh, we're going to help the people by giving them some place to do drugs.
Mhm.
I mean, that's not helping anybody. That's not helping the people in the city. I mean, if you build it, they will come. So we had like a really interesting new class of tourism here. And then
Permanent
they didn't wanna
tourists.
leave,
They're still
right?
here.
So, anyway, so there's that. But
Incredible street
that
crime
doesn't,
now.
you know, giving people drugs like that doesn't help them. You're helping drug dealers. Really, you're working for drug dealers when that's the kind of help that you're giving them. So, it's shameful.
So I don't know if they actually were handing the stuff out. They were allowing people to use, but it emphasizes your point.
It does.
Yeah. So
You
you're
can't get around it.
you're saying, come
If
on
the
in here,
stuff is
use this stuff.
illegal,
But, you know, so of course
They're
people
working
here's
for-
some fentanyl.
Yeah.
You know, give me some money for it. Wow. It's a lot of many unintended consequences.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, I didn't like the NDP before that. Now, I really, really don't like them. I mean, I think really what we're going to see is more populist governments, and it will be left-wing populists that will be more likely to get elected